Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here today at the Whisky Event in London. The event is now in full swing. We're about an hour or so in, and we wanted to say, hey, bring you guys along for a little bit of an afternoon. There are so many different whiskies here, lots of different brands, everything from the big conglomerates all the way down to the small independent brands, lots of which you may not have heard of or seen before. So we're going to get stuck in. We've also got a Prima and Ultima tasting with Diageo. Not just with Diageo, but with Collin Dunn of Diageo. Bit of an industry legend. Very, very excited to try that. Some of the whiskeys in that lineup are phenomenal, but we're going to get stuck in now and try some of the whiskeys at the stand. So let's go. Welcome, joining us here at the Lakes stand, and I'm here today with Hemel, Key Account Manager for the Lakes. Hemel, thank you so much for welcoming us over.
Of course.
You really did call us over from the other side of the room. Could not say no to a bit of the Lakes. So tell us a little bit about the Lakes. You're now 9, going on 10 years old.
Yes.
Okay. So you're really coming into your sort of the full swing of being sort of considered no longer a new distillery, but part of the furniture.
Definitely.
What is it that you're trying to achieve? You were telling me really something quite interesting about the way that you've approached your whiskey creation here at the Lakes.
Of course. So the reason why Elements was released, it was to give our consumers an insight into how different sherry casks that we're currently using, and these are not just the 7 sherry casks that we're using.
For sure.
But these are just 7 of the many myriad of options, and how they influence within the unique terroir of the Lake District.
Fantastic.
How they influence the new make, and how we can use them to create our single malt.
Amazing.
And it's just to give people an insight into that particular research project done by our whiskey makers.
It's such an interesting thing, and it's something we always talk about at the Whiskey Baron and throughout all of our content, even on our podcast, how different wood affects a whiskey. Because ultimately, we're looking at 60 to 80% of flavor coming from the wood. And so for people to understand what different flavors they can expect from different wood types, then allows them to much better attack the market and choose out drams that they're actually going to enjoy. Is that pretty much it, yeah?
Exactly. It was also, in addition to that, we are a new distillery, as we mentioned earlier. We are still defining our house style.
Right.
So we needed to understand how different casks influence our new make.
Right.
That we, again, design backwards almost, and to see how we can utilize that within our unique terroir. It's quite different than Scotland or Japan or anywhere else in the world.
Absolutely.
The Lake District is beautiful.
Absolutely.
But it's completely different. So our whiskey maker needed to understand all of those parameters and help us create now the world's best single malt.
Hopefully so, absolutely, for sure. So you've got 7 different types of sherry.
Yes.
What have we got here?
So we have Fino, Amontillado, Palo Cortado, Pedro Jimenez, Cream, Sherry, Manzanilla.
Okay.
Oloroso as well.
Okay.
So I know there's 7.
What would you recommend?
Right, just a little bit more information about the Elements pack.
Please.
So the beauty of this pack is the 7 whiskeys that were chosen, they were chosen for a reason.
Right.
All of the parameters that goes into the maturation side of things were consistent. So what parameters are we talking about here? The size of the cask, which is a huge influence.
Okay.
The seasoning of the cask was the only thing that was different, but the area in the warehouse, the height at which it was put in at, and everything else. The date it was filled, the date it was bottled, re-racked, everything was the same.
Kept
for
consistent.
These 7.
So basically, by keeping all of these different factors consistent and only changing the style of sherry that it's been seasoned in, really is giving you a perfect idea of exactly where those flavors are coming from.
Exactly.
Because it's your spirit mixed with Fino, Oloroso, Cream, whatever it may be, right?
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, I quite like the Lakes as a base spirit. It's quite a light style spirit.
Yes.
Where would you recommend, like, I can only have time to try a couple, but where would you recommend? What do you think works?
We always start with 1.
Okay.
That's how it begins in a tasting. But since we are selecting
is Fino number 1?
Fino is number 1.
Because it's the lightest?
Yes.
Okay.
But because we only are selecting a few,
yeah.
and Fino being so light, and I'm guessing you might have had a couple of drams before.
Yeah, no, go on.
But the one that I would recommend is the Amontillado. And the most unique way of explaining Amontillado is, imagine biting into a grapefruit.
A grapefruit, okay, yeah.
What Amontillado does, it provides an amazing texture to our new make, and it almost is very viscous, it's very oily. The nose is not very strong. The flavor profile is not that strong either. But what it does, it gives the oiliness and almost biting into a grapefruit. That is what Amontillado does.
It is that crispness.
Yes.
It's really, really nice. And it lets the underlying distillery character still shine through.
Yes.
It's not overpowering, which given the color of these,
I mean, as you can tell,
they're pretty
so
impressive
different.
colors. They're really, really impressive. It's lovely. So all natural color,
Natural
all
colour.
cask strength as well?
54% ABV.
Okay, so you've watered them all down to the exact same strength
Yes.
as well. That's fascinating.
To
Okay.
keep consistency.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, so really, really cool. And obviously, you've done sherry. The other thing you were saying to me just before the camera started rolling is that the Lakes is a sherry and wood-led whiskey, ultimately.
Distillery, yeah.
That's what you're looking to put in. They're
Yes.
the flavors you're looking to come out with. So obviously, this is quite a limited edition tasting pack, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, are you doing tasting events with this, or can you only buy it online, or what are you doing?
We are doing tasting events at the distillery.
Okay.
And we are doing some private events. So if
Okay.
you do buy tickets with some of the specialist retailers we work with across the UK.
Good
I did
opportunity
one,
to get involved.
Yes, I did one in Oxford a couple of days ago, which was amazing. But yes, do come up to the distillery and you can buy a pack for yourself. There's only 1,368 of these available globally. So there's not a lot of it going around, and we've sold quite a lot of it as well.
And the beauty of it, again, is that ability to dip in, try something different, figure out what it is you like. And because the Lakes is ultimately quite a light style spirit, it really allows you to get involved and pick out those different flavors and learn and learn. I love it. All right, so I don't want to try any more of this because
That's
I'll
fine.
drink you out of house and home with it. Tell me, what else have you got going on? You were saying this is the Whiskey Maker's Reserve. This is kind of your
The
focus
house
at the minute?
style.
The house style. Okay,
The
I like
house
that. I
style.
like that.
What we're going to do with is that the reserve range is our house style. Going forward, this is what our Lake Single Malt is going to taste like.
Okay.
Now, currently, we are on number 6. We're sold out of number 5. Number
Okay.
4 won the best single malt in the world
Right.
last year.
Fantastic. Congratulations again.
Thank you very
Best
much.
single malt in the world. They're not even 10 years old, guy. Already best single malt in the world. Really cool.
Number 6. Now, the beauty of number 6 is that we use 5 main types of casks and influences when producing our single malt. So we are looking at
Natural
Oloroso,
colour?
natural color, 52% ABV,
Non-age statement.
no age statement.
Love it. Love it.
And what we do is we use Pedro Jimenez, Oloroso, red wine,
Okay.
American oak, and Spanish oak. to
When you say
create-
American oak, do you mean bourbon or
No.
virgin?
No. The beauty of our product is, as you may understand from our elements tasting, we get the American oak shipped from America to Spain to air in the natural elements for 3 to 5 years. It then gets converted into oak barrels, which is then seasoned with our sherry
Right.
that we give them specifications for.
Fantastic.
So we go down to that much detail, and we've turned the whiskey on its head while still respecting the tradition of aging and maturing it according to the laws and regulations that we follow.
For sure, for sure. Okay, cool. And I have to say, this is a non-age statement. How strong did you say it was?
52%.
52. It sits really nicely at 52. It's a little bit punchy, but you know you're drinking a whiskey. It's warming. There's a nice balance of flavor in there.
Dark chocolate, orange, mandarin. There's subtle hints of rose water as well. And then on the palate, that's where the beauty happens. There's ajwa dates and there's sultanas, all of the rich sherry flavors that you'd like. And on the finish is when the red wine shines through. It's quite savory, licorice,
A little bit tannic.
towards
Lovely.
the end.
I love it. All right, cool. Really, really nice. So this is you've got number 7 of this coming out.
Later this year.
Okay, and then that's the last numbered one.
Numbered one, yes.
Okay,
that's the
so if
last
you
one.
want the last numbered Whiskey Maker's Reserve, you need to watch out for it later this year. Anything else we can look out from the Lakes?
We have very, very exciting projects happening in the other half because we have a new whiskey maker called Sarah Burgess,
I've seen.
ex-Macallan team
Yeah.
leader.
Yeah.
She is amazing. Her experience is amazing. And she's already getting stuck into our distillery. We're excited to see what we bring for our consumers as soon as she's ready to bring out on this single malt.
Fantastic. Well, lots to look forward to, as I'm sure you can tell. Helmut, thank you so much for
Of
talking
course,
us through
thank
it.
you very much.
Lovely to meet you, sir.
You
Have a
too.
wonderful afternoon.
Take care.
guys, welcome. We are here with Janice and the Pernod Ricard stand. Janice is the UK ambassador for Irish whiskey, representing predominantly the Singleton Distillery.
Indeed, absolutely.
Fantastic, Janice, thank you so much for having us. You've got Redbreast 12 in your hand.
Absolutely.
For everyone at home, probably knows Redbreast 12, knows it's an absolutely delicious whiskey. Here today, I want to find a little bit more out about Irish whiskey from you. Tell us a little bit about what the difference is for people at home. What makes single pot still whiskey so interesting?
Perfect. All right. So just a little intro into the category of single pot still. All right. This was a style of whiskey that did rule the world at one point.
Absolutely.
You know, going back to the late 1800s, you're talking about outselling Scotch 8 times to 1,
right,
which is absolutely huge. Redbreast has kind of become that reintroduction into the category that is single pot still Irish whiskey. This is how we steal the Scotch single malt or dyed people into this category
Fantastic,
as well.
Okay.
So what makes single pot still different to single malt is just basically one ingredient of a difference. So you're looking at malted and unmalted barley used in the mash bill as well.
Okay.
So minimum 30% malted, minimum 30% unmalted, no more than 5% per grain outside of that.
And you're allowed oats within single pot still?
Only within 5%.
Right, so a very small percentage, but
so
it gives that element of creaminess.
Right? Exactly, yes. But the unmalted barley as a whole will actually give that creaminess too.
Yep.
So creaminess, mouth coating texture and spice is what you're after when you're looking at that unmalted barley addition into it as well.
Okay.
So that shines through the entirety of the Redbreast family. So let's have a
Please, absolutely, yeah.
So Redbreast synonymous with sherry cask influence. So you're looking at first fill bourbon, first fill sherry. There's actually more bourbon barrels used than sherry cask, but because it's first fill sherry cask, the sherry just
really kicks through, punches
through. So it's all about that dried fruits, the nuts, the figs, those Christmas spices, your cinnamon, your nutmeg.
Lovely.
The nose starts off quite oaky. You're getting that kind of nearly like pencil shaving oak to start, and then it settles into your spices, your dried fruits.
And you say a smaller percentage of sherry. Is there a specific style of sherry you're using?
So we're using first fill Oloroso sherry casks for Redbreast 12. We can use our barrels and casks up to 3 times in the Singleton Distillery, depending on how much of an influence we want from it. So what you're looking at throughout the Redbreast family, you will get some second fill, you will get some third fill, but Redbreast is your predominantly first fill bourbon, first fill sherry casks.
Cool.
But yeah, it's all about that spice, that mouth coating texture, that creaminess. And this is just classic Irish single pot still, you know? And
you couldn't have said it better. I think the roundness, the richness, the flavors, it's just everything you want and more, right? And for 12 years old, considering there's not that many distilleries in Ireland, there's not a huge amount of output. We look at Scotch and so many of the brands here, and they're looking at millions and millions of litres per annum.
100%, absolutely. A little fun extra little whiskey fact on that though, when it comes to Irish whiskey and the growth of it. I started working with Irish whiskey 6 years ago, and there were 8 distilleries. Now we're up to 43.
It's crazy.
It is huge, like fastest growing beverage distillery in the world.
Yeah.
So,
as you pointed out, it wasn't long ago Irish was the focus. In fact, people at home may not know, it wasn't long ago casks of English whiskey were shipped over to Ireland to have a teaspoon poured in them, be labelled as Dublin whiskey, shipped all the way back, and all of that fuss would pay double, triple. You know, you'd make so much money just by having that label on it. So it's lovely to see the resurgence of Irish whiskey. All these distilleries now booming back in.
100%. But yeah, now I keep on telling people like now's the time to get behind it and get ahead.
Right.
Because in another 5 to 10 years, it's going to be unrecognizable.
Right. So start stocking up now.
Absolutely.
Cool.
But yeah, we have a lot to thank for this lovely
12-year-old Redbreast is a winner. What else have you got here that we can try that you would recommend? Something interesting, just one more. Something cool, something interesting.
Okay, well actually I'm going to talk about it like another and a more recent addition into the single pot still family.
If you haven't heard of this brand,
I know, right?
You're doing something wrong, right?
What I used to be able to confidently say to people whenever you see the name Jameson on the bottle, it's going to be a blended whiskey. Not anymore. As of late last year, we actually released the first Jameson single pot still name. So not a blended Jameson.
Fantastic.
At the moment. So we have 5 different casks using the release of this one. So 5 casks. So we're using seasoned American, seasoned Spanish, and then 3 types of virgin casks as well. So we have virgin Spanish oak, virgin American, and very interestingly enough, virgin Irish oak.
Wow, okay.
So virgin Irish oak is actually really, really beautiful wood to use. Like you're always going to get these beautiful like fudgy kind of caramel notes coming out through that oak. But due to conservation things, we can't use it predominantly through whiskey production.
Right.
Ireland actually doesn't have a lot of forest area. Most people get kind of confused by that. But the only other whiskey that we've had Irish oak in the release was the Middleton Dark Gaelic, which is quite a hefty price tag. A beautiful collector's item. Yeah, it goes into the level of detail of what wood that tree came from, what number of tree from it.
Okay, wow.
Now we have a much more affordable.
So that's really interesting. Yeah. And you're saying predominant, so quite a lot of virgin oak in there then?
Yeah, 3 different types.
And why is it that you think that now that this is a single pot still, it's no longer a blended, why is it that the virgin oak suits it so well?
So we are still using the season, to go back into what we're normally used to. We just wanted to showcase something entirely different for this whiskey, is what I will say. But also, there's something beautiful about allowing the liquid to shine through a little bit more as well, and the complementary of the oak. Like for me, I love when citrus notes come through with Irish whiskey, and I think the virgin oak really kind of brings that out quite a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, you're getting me thirsty. Please, let me try it. And this is a non-age statement.
This is non-age statement.
Non-age statement.
5 different casks.
5 different casks. 3 lots of virgin oak.
Not a blended Jameson. A single pot still at that as well. So for me, it's all salted caramelly, butterscotch kind of to a degree.
It's not your typical. It nods towards Jamesons, but it's not your tip. It's not what you expect, right?
100%. Very, very separate beast from the iconic green bottle that we all know and love. A very, very different product. But when it comes to the citrusy notes in this, I would say it's more like orange rather than your heavy,
I know what you mean. Candied peels and that sort of thing.
Candied peel, a lovely bit of ginger coming through here as well.
Tell you what, that's delicious.
But yeah, it's all about that super long-lasting finish, that spice, that melt-coating texture as well.
Cool. All right, well, look, Janice, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Thank you so much.
Well, it's an absolute
I think
pleasure.
main thing for everyone at home.
I would, but imaginary glass.
But for everyone at home, they should be keeping their eyes open for Irish whiskey, right?
Absolutely.
Especially the stuff coming out of Pernod. Cool. Nice one, Janice. Thank you so much. See you guys in a bit.
Thank you very much.
Cracking away here at the Whisky Event London, already past about half the time. We're just about to go into a private tasting with Collin Dunn, where we're going to try some really cool stuff from Diageo. So stay tuned, we got that next, and then we'll be back out here messing around, getting involved with the different stands and trying some more delicious whiskies. Keep up.
We are here now at the Prima and Ultima tasting at the Whisky Event with Collin Dunn, and to say we're being spoiled is the biggest understatement of this century. Started out with a 47-year-old Laphroaig, not only just a 47-year-old though, actually the first cask ever filled by the distillery. Followed on by a 41-year-old Talisker, 39-year-old Linkwood, 34-year-old Singleton, a 10,000-pound bottle of 41-year-old Port Ellen, and we're just about to hit up a 28-year-old Lagavulin, the youngest one of the bunch, and the only dram here younger than me.
Today at the Whisky Event at the DS Tayman stand. I'm standing here with Romy, the lovely brand ambassador for today. Romy, you've got some really interesting whiskies, right?
We do. We have amazing whiskies. Basically, we wanted to, our founders, Danny and Saul, hence the D and the S, Tayman is a mashup of their surnames, 2 Jewish boys from London, and they wanted to create a really good quality scotch that is also finished in a kosher wine barrel. So for the Jewish community that maybe doesn't drink sherried or port finished whiskies, we wanted to give them a really good quality scotch that has a wine finish.
Fantastic.
So we have 4 different expressions, each from a different distillery. You can see our packaging's really bright. We wanted to stand out, but also make it really easy to know which is which. These have all been finished in wine barrels from the Tulip Winery in the north of Israel, which is an amazing winery. They basically are a social community, social action community. So all the people that work in the winery have special needs. Okay. So all the profits from the winery go back into the community to help them and build things up. So it's like
that's really cool. I had not, you know what? I know Danny and Saul. We deal with them in the other side of our business. I never knew that. That's really fucking cool. Yeah. Love that. And obviously, like you say, the ability for somebody who is Jewish, who is sticking to a kosher diet, having that ability to get wine to have sherry influences on their whiskey, but making sure that it's clean, that it suits their religious needs.
Exactly.
All right, so Romy, you've got a few different whiskeys here. You mentioned Glenelgan. You know I love Glenelgan, guys. So please, let's start with the Glenelgan.
This is our latest release.
So 12 years old.
12-year-old, non-chill filtered, no added colors, no added flavors, finished in a Syrah wine barrel. We're told the Syrah grapes were exceptionally ripe, so those flavors are really going to come through.
Okay.
It was finished in the Syrah barrel, I think, for 24 months this one was.
Okay. 2-year finish. And you said that these ones in the core range are watered down a little bit.
Yes. So they're
what percentage are we looking at?
46%.
So 46%,
But
okay.
we stopped there, obviously, so we don't have to chill filter.
So a nice supping whiskey, but still natural color, okay.
Space side, it's light, it's fruity, easy drinking.
As you can see, guys, I'm dancing a little bit here. Why? Because I love Glenelgan. But Glenelgan, when it's finished in a wine cask this good, really brings the whole thing alive, right? Like you say, there's wonderful flavors, fruitiness, a little bit of tannins, but at 46%, it's actually very easy drinking. An everyday dram. Is that kind of the intention with this?
Very much so, yeah.
Okay. And what sort of price point are we looking at? Like a 12-year-old Glenelgan here?
$49.90. We haven't actually changed our prices since we launched. We've absorbed all the raising costs because we wanted our audience, we love our community. We love the people that love our Scotch. We didn't want to put that onto them. So we've actually kept our prices low because we want it to be drunk. We want people to enjoy it.
So 12-year-old Glenelgan at just less than £50 a bottle. You can't argue.
Exactly.
And I know for a fact, Romy, that you guys aren't only distributing here, but you're also in America. So if you're over in America, you're in New York in particular, I know you can get this in a bunch of different places. They focused really hard on that.
Yes.
This is delicious. Now,
thank you.
For people who want something a little bit heavier hitting,
okay,
and for people like me who like the old world of wine, you've got some Bordeaux?
We have some Bordeaux wine finishes.
Cask strength. Boom. Okay. Talk to me.
I'm going to give you our Blair Athol.
Okay, talk to me about it first whilst I finish this one.
So yes, of course. So this is our Blair Athol. This is finished in a Bordeaux wine barrel. We try to put as much detail onto our bottles as possible. So we always try to name the winery, where it's from. This particular winery did not give us permission to put their name, so that's why we've called it the Bordeaux edition.
Is it still an Israeli winery?
No, this is a French winery, but it is still kosher.
Right.
100% kosher. So the thing is, in the Jewish world, and especially in the kosher world, if you keep to a kosher diet, you will not drink wine that isn't certified kosher. And because, as we know with whiskey, a lot of the flavor and a lot of the color comes from the barrel. Therefore, if you age a whiskey in a wine barrel and it's absorbing all of that color and flavor, certain people within the Jewish community won't drink a non-kosher wine finish, which is why we specifically use kosher wine barrels. So again, we can give that really good quality, delicious Scotch with the wine finish to the kosher community. But again, America is our biggest market, but then after that, Taiwan's our second biggest market.
Wow, really?
There's only 800 Jews in Taiwan, so they're not drinking all that whiskey. We just won this particular one, well, not our Syrah edition, all of them won medals in the IWSC.
Fantastic.
Silver and then gold for these three.
Congratulations.
In the World Whiskey Awards, this one was the category winner, gold.
Fantastic.
So,
and I have to say, I've tried this Kalila time and time again. That's why I didn't ask for it today, because I know it's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Definitely try that Kalila if you haven't.
It's
cool.
delicious. You
Please.
ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Amazing.
So for those of us who aren't Jewish,
Yes.
let us understand a little, what does kosher mean? What is it that's different about these wine barrels to a wine barrel that just anyone can try?
Right. So the truth is, nothing in terms of the flavor.
Right.
It's all going to be, it's just what the difference is the process.
Right.
So because wine in the Jewish world is used for sacramental purposes, so it's important. Anytime we have a happy occasion, a wedding, a birth, we always make blessings over wine. So therefore, we have to have a rabbi essentially a rabbi supervising the process.
Yes.
It's not that he's putting any blessings on the wine, but he just has to supervise it to make sure none of the ingredients that go in are not kosher. So for example, we know that some of the, the preservatives in wine can be non-kosher. They can come from non-kosher animals and whatever else. So it's essentially about the ingredients and supervising the process. The wine itself won't necessarily taste different if you get a Syrah grape in a kosher wine barrel to a non-kosher wine barrel. It's just about the
So it's definitely not just for Jewish clientele.
No, definitely
if you
not.
like whiskies, especially whiskies finished in high quality wine barrels, this is definitely a brand for you because they're doing it right.
Yeah,
and I have to
100%.
say, cask strength. wow. It just levels it up. Don't get me wrong, I love your core range. I think it's really cool. But as a whiskey aficionado, this is just turned up to 11. It's really, really delicious. The richness, the roundness, you still have all that beautiful Blair Athol, but it's combined with that Bordeaux. Oh,
it's beautiful, isn't it?
it's a winner, Romy.
This one's a little bit more expensive. Only £10 more, but...
£10 more for cask strength, you can't argue with that.
Can't argue. This one is 51.3% this one.
Cool, 51.3. All right. Well, listen, guys, hopefully you've learned a little bit, if not about whiskey, about kosher wine and how to make sure that your whiskey is kosher. Roby, thank you so much for sharing your brand and some stories with us. We'll see you again soon.
Yes, definitely. Lovely to
Sláinte,
meet you.
guys. Guys, welcome. We are here at the whiskey event at the Bruichladdich stand, here with Bill. Bill, thank you so much for welcoming us behind the stand. Guys, I'm sure you all know Bruichladdich is one of my top 3 favorite distilleries. The reason for this is they've got such a diverse group of spirits coming out of the distillery. You've got Bruichladdich, you've got Port Charlotte, you've got Octomore. A lot of people don't know. You've also got Rins and Lockendal sat in between there. Today we're going to try 2 little expressions from the Bruichladdich distillery. And Bill, you were saying we're going to start with the Bere Barley, which is ultimately an ancient grain.
Yeah, so Bere Barley itself, it's something that we started kind of mastering about 12 years ago.
Okay.
So we wanted to bring back old grains. So the way we saw Bere Barley, it has a place in the future because it's a hardy grain from 6,000 years ago. It's good for winter, good for summer. It's got strong growth, so it helps other barleys grow.
Okay.
It's good for the present because it's all about, commercially led in terms of flavors. People want to have different flavors, and this definitely has a different flavor. And then in the past, it's a homage to what whiskey used to be. This was basically the Bere Barley, a 6-row barley was the first ever barley for whiskey. So this is like a nod to Yuskabaha back in the day. So this is what it would have tasted like.
Fantastic.
But yeah, always unpeated as well.
Let's have a little try.
Yeah, of course.
Now, is this a non-age statement?
Non-age statement, so we don't really talk about ages, but if you know Bruichladdich, we're very transparent in what we do. This is 10 years old, second fill American. The reason why we use second fill American is because we don't want too much flavor from the cask. We actually want the barley to speak for itself. This here, we work with 6 farms in Orkney. We work with the University of the Highlands and Islands Barley Institute. There's a Dr. Peter Martin that we worked with really closely, and we basically wanted to showcase Bere Barley having its own place in whiskey.
Cool.
So when you try it, it's like porridge, it's malty, it's creamy, it's tropical.
Yep.
It's just, when we talk about barley, our barley expiration rate kind of shows you that we're not just crazy. There is something here. So Islay and our organic, they all taste different.
Fantastic.
But Bere Barley is a nod to the past.
So the interesting thing for me about Bere Barley and Bruichladdich as a general brand under the Bruichladdich umbrella is, I'll be honest with you, I struggle with a lot of Bruichladdich expressions. Port Charlotte, Octomore are my preference. Yeah. The reason I struggle, I think, is the butyric acid element. It comes across a little bit baby sick. A lot of people love that banana note. Comes a little baby sick for me, personally.
Like you say, rancid.
Very, very personal.
Yes.
However, with the Bere Barley, like you say, it is that little bit more oaty, that little bit more, there's a bit more depth to it. And so it kind of bypasses that for me. And you really get this full flavor, roundness of Bruichladdich.
Massively. It's about the spirit. It's not about the age, it's not about the cask, it's more about the spirit itself.
For sure.
And Bere Barley it's an old grain, and we want to highlight the usage in this.
Aye.
It's also the reason why we do touch on our Islay barley, which is a concerto barley from 12 farms in Islay.
Wow.
Bere Barley is 4 farms up in Orkney, 6 farms up in Orkney.
Wow.
We tried to grow Bere in Islay. And it chewed up and spat it out.
Right, okay.
Didn't like it. It absolutely hated it.
So that's so interesting. Yeah. It's really about provenance of the barley. Where is it working? And the fact that Islay has kind of rejected that form of barley.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Because it's an old barley, it's a 6-rower. So basically this means if you look at conventional 2-row, concerto is a conventional 2-row barley. They have a big yield, big carbohydrates, a lot of fermentable sugar, so a big yield.
Right.
For Bere Barley, it's very small. So this means a less yield. So farmers don't want it, distillers don't want it,
right?
Whereas we do. You can have a wee dram if you want. Aye, crack on, man. Food should do. So with the Bere Barley, it's more of a homage to what barley matters, Okay. Terroir matters. In whiskey, people talk about ages, they talk about cask, they talk about regions. They don't talk about barley.
And I love that you say,
where the spirit comes from.
We're very honest, this is 10 years old, but we're not focusing on putting 10 years on the barley. Let's
full
focus on the barley, let's focus on what's actually going on in the glass. I love it. Cool. Okay, now Bill, you were telling me, and as I said already, Port Charlotte, that's where my heart lies. Port Charlotte in particular.
Yes.
For me, it's just there's such depth. It's a challenge every time I try it. It's like different.
Sure.
I've tried the MRC.
Yeah.
I've tried the OLC.
Nice.
I've tried, to be honest, I think I've tried just about everything. This one here is the new PMC, right?
Yes.
So this is Pomerol casks.
Pomerol casks from the left bank of Bordeaux. Now, we released this in a couple of weeks. It shouldn't technically maybe be here or not, but it's here. I brought it. So this here, like with Port Charlotte, if anyone's been to Islay before, we have Bruichladdich, which is the town that has 4 houses. It's a town, we don't care. We call it a town. And then down south is Port Charlotte, which used to have a distillery.
Yes.
Not anymore. So we wanted to do sort of like a nod to like traditional style of Islay. So green bottle, printed on the back, Port Charlotte. It's always 40 ppm. Whatever Port Charlotte you have will always be 40 ppm. Now, this is 4 years, second fill ex-bourbon casks, and then 5 years Pomerol casks. Okay. Now, Pomerol, left bank of Bordeaux, it's a sin at 54.5% ABV. It's a bit of a punch, but it's like dark fruits, waxy, oaty at the same time. It's really, really waxy. Now, what's interesting about Port Charlotte is that we actually don't use Islay peat, which is, everyone assumes if you're an Islay, you use Islay peat. Right. We don't. We actually use peat from Caithness and around the Caledonian forest. Okay. Different terroir, different peat, different smoke. This is like, our peat is like sticky barbecue. It's like oat smoke, it's like cask,
That's really good.
It's very different. Like,
the interesting thing about this, I compare it, we say the MRC, the OL, previous releases of this range, I feel I've tasted more of the wine cask coming through.
Yes.
What's interesting about this, in my opinion, is it actually really lets the distillery character shine through. This is Port Charlotte through and through with a Pomerol finish.
100%, yes. It's like the way we want to see Port Charlotte, instead of having your whiskey and then your peat, it's the whiskey and the peat together, harmonizing as one, Like this isn't abrasive, this is, like I said, it's smoky, it's oat smoke, it's barbecue smoke, for me, it's Korean sticky barbecue for me. It's massive Korean sticky barbecue.
Sticky. Yeah. That is the word I would use to describe this, is sticky.
But it's waxy and chewy at the same time. Right. Now, bear in mind, at Bruichladdich, we're quite famous for our really long linarms. So we have a very slow distillation process, which makes like a light spirit. Right. Which if you have classic laddie or unpeated, it's quite a light spirit. This is so waxy, so chewy.
In your face, right?
And that's the peat. It's the Caledonian forest peat.
Fantastic.
It's different. No TCP, none of that medicinal notes. It's all about sticky Korean barbecue.
I love it. Exactly. I love it. This is right on my street. Bill, thank you so much.
Hey, absolute pleasure.
For everyone at home, Bruichladdich, obviously, as we say, we've got the 3 classic styles of Bruichladdich, Port Charlotte, and Octomore. But for those out there on the hunt for something a little bit different, you've also got Rins and Lockendal. The main thing is keep your eyes open, because in my mind, everything coming out of this distillery is an absolute fucking winner.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Bill.
Cheers, guys. Thank you so much.
Nice one. Guys, we are here today at the Whisky Event, and we've stopped off at the Edrington, more specifically the Laphroaig stand, with the wonderful Charlotte, who's brought us over here. She's got something super, super special. Now, Charlotte, you are one of the brand ambassadors for Edrington.
I am one of the whiskey specialists.
The whiskey specialists, apologies for Edrington.
I look after the broader portfolio that we have,
okay.
But predominantly
Laphroaig is your baby.
My smoky little baby.
I love it, I love it. Now, you say a baby, this isn't really a baby.
No, this is older than I am.
This is older than I am as well. 34 years old. And not just 34 years old, guys, 34 years old from one of the most renowned distilleries on Islay, where they have the fewest number of distilleries in all of Scotland. So tell us a little bit about this release, Charlotte.
So the Laphroaig 34-year-old is part of our Ian Hunter story range. So this is now the 4th in the chapter. Chapter I say because we obviously release it in this very beautiful, beautiful book, which actually it's a book. It's legitimately a book. So you have a little bit of the story behind it. Yeah, it's legitimately.
It's not pomp and circumstance. There is a bottle in there, but there are also pages you can read.
There is a bottle in here.
Okay, cool.
But it just sort of documents a little bit about who Ian Hunter is. So he was the last of the Johnston family to own and manage the distillery.
Yep.
A very important character in our history. So we, as I said, this is the 4th in the release. So this is now 34 years old. I'm going to pull this out and give you a little dram of this.
Honoured. So you've
try and do this and make it look good.
You've got a few different special releases. You've obviously got the Ian Hunter ones, the Betty Williamson ones.
Yes, Smart Woman.
She is an absolute legend. Anyone who doesn't know, have a little look. Betty Williamson, look at what she did for Laphroaig Distillery. Yeah. Incredible woman.
Anyone who wants to geek out about her, like, hit me up.
Yeah.
I have all
Charlotte knows all of the inside fucking information.
So the 34-year-old has been aged in, firstly, American White Oak, which is part of, I mean, you know, the 10-year-old Ian Hunter actually pioneered the use of ex-bourbon barrels in maturation.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Okay, cool.
We were the only whiskey. I mean, I'm not going to go in super hard now, but there is lots of reasons behind this. We were the only whiskey that was legally imported into the States during Prohibition.
I know that.
So in his search of
it was sold as a medicine, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the story goes is that he actually gave the customs officers a couple of drams. So he basically just boozed them up.
Yep.
And was like, "Hey, it's medicine."
It's all good, like, guys. Sneak it on through, for sure.
We aged first in, again, our standard American White Oak. I feel like I'm going to give you a little bit more.
Oh, wow. Jesus, spoiling me. Thank you.
And then we then put that into first fill European Oak Oloroso cask as well. So you have a little bit of that sherry influence as well, which gives it this really sexy colour.
I have to say, sorry, yeah, no, in fairness, that is very sexy. Similar
to the sherry oak finish that we have as well, which is part of our core range. It's part of the 10-year-old series that we have.
I'm nosing it. It's a lot on the sherry oak that you've got as part of
it keeps going as well with flavour. So you have everything that you would expect from Laphroaig. You have that really nice smoky initial hit, but obviously with Laphroaig as well, I mean, you either love Laphroaig or you hate Laphroaig. If you love Laphroaig and you allow yourself to get past that smoke, it's actually quite a sweet liquid anyway.
It is.
So
super
this
sweet.
Just sort of enhances a lot of those flavours. So it's got a finish that just keeps going. So you get a lot of that oak influence as well.
I'm going to be chewing this all the way home, aren't I?
Yeah, no,
I love it. I love that. Okay, cool. Now you say this is the 4th in the Ian Hunter series.
Yes.
How many are we expecting from this series? Do you know?
I don't have.
I've asked you a difficult question, no worries.
I believe that there's a 5th one.
There's a 5th one coming, hopefully.
I believe.
Cool. Because this is the thing. You see these special releases, and they do disappear quite quickly, don't they?
Yeah.
So this is the thing. If you want something that's a little bit interesting, obviously super high age statement, very limited release, you need to jump on them whilst you can. And other than the Ian Hunter, Betty Williamson, are there any other? Sorry, Bessie. I always get that wrong.
It's all right. I'll let you off. I'll let you off.
So long as you've corrected me for everyone at home, Bessie Williamson. Are there anyone else? Is there anyone else that you focus on telling stories? Anyone else that has been key to Laphroaig?
I'm going to be very honest with you, and maybe I have a little bit of a biased opinion. Ian Hunter and Bessie Williamson are really sort of like the two stable characters in our brand and in our history.
Yep.
I mean, we've got our founders, Alexander and Donald Johnston. However, Ian Hunter, in my own personal opinion, and this is just my opinion, but they're sort of the two that really made the brand what it is. Ian Hunter very much in the liquid itself, and then Bessie sort of like on, I'd say, like arguably the brand. Like, I don't think that the brand would be who they are without
her input.
Yeah, so always down for like strong females in whiskey.
Yeah, fucking right. I love that.
No,
I love that.
so,
absolutely. Cool. Well, I tell you what, guys, 34-year-old Laphroaig, I'm not even going to bother giving you tasting notes because this is an absolute beast. There's so much going on in this glass. What I will tell you, it's delicious. Thank you so much for sharing. I feel honored, honestly. You need to get down to events like the Whisky Event so that you can try certain things like this. Not available all the time, but when you get down to shows, sometimes you're lucky enough, you meet someone wonderful like Charlotte, you get a beautiful dram in your glass, you get to explore something you wouldn't have otherwise tried. So, Charlotte, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Cheers.
Sláinte Mhath. Lovely to meet you, and lovely to see you all guys at home. Take care. We are live here at the Whisky Event. As you can see, everyone is packing up, everyone's left. We're still here, we're still getting involved, we're still trying different bits and pieces. I've just been given a 34-year-old Laphroaig after the event is all said and done. And I tell you what, it is absolutely spectacular. The key thing is, guys, getting down to these events, making sure that you turn up early, have a little go, talk to the different vendors. Everybody here has been so welcoming, has been so interested to share their story, share a little bit about their brand, what it is that makes them different with you. I have to say, as the Whisky Event goes, it's my first time here. The food has been phenomenal. And I would have to say it's probably my favorite Whisky Event I've been to when it comes to a show on this sort of scale. They've really looked after us. There's some really interesting brands here. It's been awesome. That being said, it is now at a point where it is lights off, everyone's out. I feel like we're going to be told off yet again if we don't get out of here right now. So thank you so much for joining us all at home. As I say, get down to these sorts of events if you're not, but we will look forward to seeing you next time at the Whiskey Barrel. Slán